Hello, everybody, and welcome to the April 2018 edition of the Bizarre Briefing. I'm Bryce Castillo, joined as always with Brandt Hughes.
Hi, that's me.
And Jeff Schusler. We're going to have the boys from Scam Stuff on in just a few minutes.
That's really well in the audio version.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Hi. Yes.
He just pointed at himself.
Point.
Well, I was I was looking at him, and I was like, okay, yeah, no, that's an acceptable, that's going to play.
Uh-huh.
This is the behind the scenes podcast where we talk about all your favorite content channels like Scam School and Modern Rogue, and Night Attack and Weird Things, and Scam Stuff, scamstuff.com, Modern Rogue Store, all sorts of stuff like that. How are you guys doing? You guys having a good April? This is good.
Doing great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I want to, punch everything in the face right now.
Oh, yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
So it's a great energy
real
we're
nice,
going in
yeah.
today.
Uh-huh.
The thing about having David in here is that he centered us a little bit.
He has a real optimism about him.
Yeah, right. It's great. It's going great. It's great.
Uh-huh.
Before we get into calling the guys, because we're going to call the Scam Stuff boys in just a few minutes here on Skype, let's talk a little bit about, what do you want to talk about, Brian? We got a lot of little things here.
I guess this would be the quickest, nice little easy one. I pulled up the Modern Rogue YouTube channel the other day and realized that the channel art hadn't been updated since like 2016 when we first started the show.
Oh, yeah.
So I just threw a new photo in there.
Nice. Hey, I'm in it. That's
You're in it.
good. I'm fine. That's fun. This is from, of course, our horseback riding shoots.
Mm-hmm. It's really hard to find any photos that are nearly acceptable for this crazy widescreen format.
It's so ridiculous. I'm gonna pull up the template, but explain to the people how wild it is.
Is it still the same thing with like the full one and then like the half one and then the tiny one and then like 1 pixel in the middle or whatever?
Oh, yes.
We've talked about it on the show a little bit before, but it's really absurd.
So like you have to make a 1440 TV size, but then you have to crop in to the center for like the desktop size and tablet size.
And it just has to be one photo that works for all of these different formats.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's wild. It's wild.
It's real dumb.
You're doing a real good job, YouTube. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Keep it up, YouTube.
I know. Last episode was called The Death of YouTube. So I think our stance is maybe a little set for the moment on YouTube. But yeah, so new channel art. I was actually just thinking about this the other day because the Scam School one, if you still have that,
out of date.
Is a little out of date. If you still have that PSD, if you can send that to me, Brandt.
Sure.
Because it still says that we're doing giveaways on Friday, which we are, just not on this channel, and not videos of them either. They're on the Modern Rogue stuff, so we need to update this. This is a good graphic and everything, but
it's fine.
Yeah, it's great. It's fine.
It's fine.
Because that was from all of those like Magic Magazine shoots that we did with Brian.
Something like that.
And it was tough because, again, like those were for a magazine, so most of them were shot in portrait, which means it was super difficult to find something that will work in all of those crazy sizes.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a weird. I don't typically frame things in a way that is accommodating to that like really tight mid section crop.
I wonder if they expect people to just like black out the TV size and just keep it like incredibly thin.
I've seen some stuff like that, or even just something that's a little bit more of like a collage of things.
I use the YouTube TV app. I should see like how these graphics actually surface to people there, because that's supposedly what it's for.
Right.
But I've never.
I can tell you that my girlfriend uses the PlayStation YouTube app all the time. It's just non-existent there. It's just like a big gray menu with questions. What do you want to look at? And there it is.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to go to tv.youtube.com, which I think is their. Nope, that's the YouTube TV. YouTube.com/TV, I think is it. Yeah. Okay. I got to sign in. No. We're going to go to.
Yeah, this is the same thing.
Yeah. So this is like a web.
And that's like all you see. Or I don't know, maybe. Oh, okay.
So so you get like a little bit more headroom here, but even then, it's not the full 1440.
In fact, if anything, because of the gradient at the bottom, it's covering up.
It cuts up the bottom.
What you're supposed to be seeing.
The safe zone.
The center safe zone is supposed to be.
Well, even when you scroll down and it kind of crops in more, it still covers that. But that's wild.
Good job.
Thanks, YouTube. very good. And we solved it though. We did solve it.
Yeah, problem solved.
Also, last week I did a search for Brian heads, and almost every image that came up on Google image search was like straight on. I was trying to make that Choppers ad. I was looking for like 3/4 front Brian. And I feel like everything I saw was just like right like this from the front of Brian.
Oh, you should have let me know because I think we have some of those.
That's all right. Somewhere. It ended up working out better with horrible looking MS Paint stuff.
Oh, good. We have on the line David Rowan and Jacob straight from the warehouse. Hey guys, can you hear us?
I can.
Hey, look at you guys.
Nice.
Yeah, seeing myself backwards.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, just deal with it.
Confusing my tiny brain.
How's things at the warehouse, guys?
Good. We've fought off most of the monsters.
Good.
They're all dead, and we're just trying to get stuff back onto the store. So
yeah, is there like what's going on with the store right now? Anything you can tease?
Let's see. What can we tease? Actually, yeah. There's gonna be a thing we do at the end of this week. For a very rare thing. When we often say, limited quantities available, but at the end of this week, we actually are going to mean it. So, a collectible signed and numbered thing.
Ooh. Oh, that's enticing. I'm excited. Also, everybody, welcome to the podcast, Jacob, for the first time. Hi, Jacob.
Hello. What's up?
So Jacob's been working with David, doing a lot of the warehouse stuff for how long now? A couple of months? 3 months now?
I think since late January.
Okay, yeah. You liking it? He's not too hard of a slave driver, is he?
Ooh.
He has high expectations, but he doesn't enforce it. He'll be like, you have a lot to get done today, and then I just won't be able to do it all and never hear of it again.
Yeah, give him a pass. I do probably have unrealistic time expectations. I'm like, I think we could probably, organize this entire warehouse in like 15 minutes. So let's get on that. Yeah.
Well, you know what they say, shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Which if you think about it in like astrological terms, is both really lazy and very scary.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's bad. You should probably land somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we're saying, Jacob, is land somewhere. Please come home back to Earth safely.
Don't die in the cold, harsh vacuum of space.
Right. What's this fourth camera up here that we're just seeing of the wall?
Oh, I had a preset visual shot.
Your arm looks super long when you do that in the grid.
Oh no, this is a separate shot. Look, I did not have time to set up a shot with all of us in it, so
okay.
This is what we're working with now. Okay, so how was the store the past month?
We did really well in the penmanship.
Oh yeah, that
bundle.
finally came out.
Penultimate bundles. Most people bought the bundle, not just the pen by itself.
Mm-hmm.
This guy made, I would say, 80% of them. So.
Oh, nice.
I made all of them but the flawed ones.
Yeah, all of the ones with mistakes. Those are all mine.
What were the mistakes? Like,
or just he's.
If anyone has a complaint, it was probably the one David made.
Yeah, he's preemptively putting himself in the better position, but we all know that the perfectionist in this bunch is this one right here.
We also had the erasable highlighters come out. In this past month.
Yeah, one of the reviews that we got on the bundle was, that somebody was like, within 5 minutes, I've had the most fun that I've had in a while. And a lot of it was just showing, like doing stuff with the highlighter and the friction pen combo and then like just filming it and sending it off to friends and stuff.
Yeah. That was there an email for that or was that mostly YouTube?
There was an email for that. Yeah. The whole bundle was advertised, via the email list. But the bundle, I think initially was, or the highlighter was initially announced on that YouTube scam school, but it was like 2 days later than the big email thing came.
Yeah.
And we've also announced the wristband, on the YouTube episode with Alex Rangel, the one where there was like a metal wristband and then the card underneath it is
a chosen card.
That was super quick there, Bryce.
I've got it pulled up. That's those were pre-orders, I think, when we opened those up, right?
Yeah. And then we'll probably do a big campaign for those too, but we're just getting them made.
Okay, yeah, because those are like Alex's friend, like is the one who made his or something. If I remember that right.
Yeah, I think we will probably do ours with we'll probably do 2 of clubs, but it'll just say TWO because I think that'll be clearer than that picture.
Oh yeah, because this almost looks like half of a heart or
could be a
question
7 or
mark.
question mark or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way that stamping, that handmade stamping comes out, it'd probably be clear with the full spelled out thing.
Yeah. Is there a timeline for that yet?
Well, it says May 15th on the site right now. I will probably say we would be doing really well to get them by May 15th. It might be more like May 20th. So maybe we're off by almost a week, but
okay. But people can look forward to it.
What's that?
But people can be looking for it. It's not going to be crazy off if it's a little later than that.
No. It's I would say it would definitely be May. It's not going to be like June or July or something. Yeah, it'll just be sometime a little bit later in May than what we said, which is often the case. We're optimists, and then the logistics start happening.
Yeah, and then we start landing among the stars.
Yeah, exactly. I've told Jacob he can only say 2 sentences, so that's why he's quiet.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry for making you use all of yours up by saying hi. So,
yeah. Don't respond to
that. So what else is going on with scam stuff and the warehouse? Like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
You got some ideas?
I'll be taking over in the near future.
Right. There's that.
Oh, very excited.
I'm starting to answer emails. So if people are writing in as fans of David, it might be me responding, and I apologize. That happens.
Yeah, he's just not getting on the email thing.
Are you making him like David? Are you making him sign it to David, like when he sends replies?
Well, the signature is of my name, and he's
how convenient.
He's overstating the situation right now.
I've done like 5.
He's sent out like 5 emails, and he's also not taking over anytime soon.
Famous last words.
Yes, I know, right? I was like, "Where's David next month?" Well, knock on wood. Yeah. That's not really wood. That's
it's like particle
laminate.
board.
I don't know if that gets the same amount of luck if you knock on laminate.
I think it's a third.
The third.
Luck, yeah.
There's a ratio. So what were y'all chatting about?
Well, we just started. We were talking a little bit about some dumb YouTube stuff, as we are wont to do on this show, of course.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else? Because I know you guys are super busy working on stuff now. I don't want to keep you too long.
Yeah. Well, we might have a different schedule next month because he'll be like. The reason why Tuesdays are really important is to get both of us working here, and that's only we can only do that twice a week right now. Yeah. So that's why it doesn't make sense to break off and go do the briefing because this opportunity doesn't present itself tomorrow or the next day. Yeah. But in a month, I'm thinking his schedule's going to change. We might be able to bring Jacob in the studio for the first time.
Oh, cool!
That'd be fun.
Excited to have you. We're going to just pack as many people as possible as we can into this.
Get Brian in here too.
Oh, yeah. Make a big party out of it. See if Bonnie's around. Get
Jason.
The kids.
Yeah. Invite +1s. We'll just,
we'll get catering. Make it a whole thing.
Yeah. We can put the little chafing dishes over there. Yeah.
Cool. Well, other than the Outlaws Crimson Uncut Sheets. Oops. That will be announced at the end of this week that are going to be signed and numbered by Brian. I think the next big product is just going to be that wristband / bracelet. We're kind of on the fence whether we want to call it a wristband or a bracelet. It's called a bracelet in the episode, but I think a wristband sounds cooler, but who knows? We might just call it right now we're calling it the Revelation wristband.
Okay.
No reason why it couldn't be a Revelation bracelet as well.
I feel like bracelet is the most accurate term, but also I know that the audience skews very masculine.
Yeah.
Which I think is why wristband maybe might feel better for it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Technically, it probably is because it's metal and it's not like one of those like a placebo band would be more a wristband, right?
What about an arm guard?
It's a
wrist latch.
Yeah, you're really gonna guard a lot of your skin with this third of an inch of steel.
Yeah. Predict their card and deflect a bullet. I guess maybe.
It could happen.
Yeah, it's basically Wonder Woman. Well, what are Wonder Woman's things called? Her bracers.
Bracers?
I don't know. But I do know that if you take those off of Wonder Woman, underneath they say 2 of clubs.
True fact.
Yeah.
Cool guys.
Wonder Woman does a lot of close-up magic.
But
Okay, well, thank you guys for calling in. I'm glad we could get an
studio.
update with you. Welcome again for your first time on the show, Jacob. Hopefully we see you guys next month.
adios.
Bye.
Bye.
That was fun.
Yeah.
For a little bit. Yeah, so I think it's slow lately. It's been a slow month.
It's gone by quickly, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, especially for me, I was out of town for some of this month, so it was like a lot of hurry up and get things done and out of the way, so that way I can leave for a long weekend
And not think about stuff.
Yeah, and then come back, and then I'm in a rush to get things done again. So it's all been very fast paced.
Yeah.
It was taxes and my birthday are both this month, so it's been kind of a hectic month for me.
I only just put that together, that like your birthday and the tax deadline are very close together.
Yeah, it was great for a long time when I had a job because
you got a refund.
Yeah, I got a refund. I got a tax gift from the government every year, but no more.
Yeah, my birthday is same week of taxes.
Yeah.
Really?
And also, since I turned 26, I had to find health insurance and stuff.
Oh yeah,
this month as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a whole thing.
Oof. Well, but also Brian's been out of town and out of the country for a lot of this past month. He's going to Halifax tomorrow. He's going to Canada. He'll be gone until Saturday or Sunday for some convention. I don't know, some convention. But he was also gone last week from like Wednesday to Sunday, doing Grant Thompson's YouTuber convention seminar lecture thing. I don't really know what it was. And so that's been the sort of thing where I think we kind of knew it was coming, right? Because we'd been trying to pack in a lot of shoots before this month.
Right.
Because we knew that a lot of weekends would just be gone. And so now we're kind of eating into our reserve of episodes. You were saying we only have 3 Modern Rogue episodes left?
Yeah.
Wow.
How many scam schools do we have?
I just had this pulled up a minute ago. We've got this week we got 4 or 5. We've got 4 or 5.
Okay.
And that's because we were probably trying to do Scam School at a very similar clip to Modern Rogue, right before we things slowed down, and it's quick. It's easier for us to do episodes quicker.
Yeah.
Of Scam School than Modern Rogue, but he went last week for that YouTuber thing. He left early and was gonna stay late, but it sounds like he didn't, so that you guys could do remix.
Yeah, I don't know why he came back, but we were able to do remix in time because he came back earlier than projected.
Because he was thinking of like staying through Monday and coming back probably Tuesday, coming back today. Is that today? Yeah. Because he was going to shoot stuff with Grant Thompson for his channel, because it worked out. It was really beneficial the last time he did stuff with him. So doing some more collaboration type stuff around this convention, and they're in the same town, and he ended up like leaving almost on a whim, right? Like it was Tuesday when he was like, oh, well, they're going to be shooting some more stuff, so I should just leave early and go be a part of their thing. So there's been not a lot of Brian lately, and he's leaving again tomorrow, which I think it's tough because we don't like have too much that requires Brian if there aren't shoots, but there are still little things that kind of get swept up when he's not here, like doing stand-ups. We have to do some stand-ups tonight, which would not be fun if he left early or something. If he was going to stay late, you guys would have been out of remix, the framing parts, the beginning and end parts of remixes. Little things like that kind of get.
And they kind of stack up.
Yeah.
If he's not around.
Yeah. Like we've kind of gotten into a rhythm of doing the stand-ups every other week, just on Tuesdays before Night Attack. And so we'll go up to the Rusty Mule and shoot a few things and maybe have a drink before the podcast and the stream starts, which is fine, but it's definitely different than like how it used to be, which was like on a Saturday or Sunday, go downtown and shoot all of the stand-ups, or at least a bunch of them at once.
Yeah.
And so I don't really know. I guess part of it is just it's really convenient that there's a bar that loves us and the bartender there knows us, and it's totally cool if we just show up and do stuff. And the stand-ups are the sort of thing where they don't need to be done immediately, so they can be done the night before or whatever. And as long as we get them, we can roll them in pretty smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a slow month, so.
But we still got a dock full of some stuff.
We still got a bunch of stuff on the agenda.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about shirts again. Hey,
Okay.
Another episode of the Bizarre Briefing. How are the shirts doing? Shirts. So you just ordered shirts the other day, or you were starting to look at shirts?
So here's the thing about shirts.
It sucks, huh?
It's weird because we do one run of shirts per quarter,
mm-hmm.
and I feel like we learn a lot every run, but it happens so infrequently that the like iterative process shows change very slowly.
Mm-hmm. Especially when it's once every couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the big change that happened this quarter is Brian wanted to disassociate himself from all logistics.
Yeah.
And we kind of relied on Brian to get shirts ordered and sent to the printer, the guy who prints the designs on them, because he personally knows the guy who prints the designs on them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like it makes sense to say, you just talk to the guy and you just handle that contact.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, well, I don't really see that it's my job or my responsibility, which I understand. It's more of like a product thing, product focused thing.
Yeah.
So that kind of happened over the past week or so.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I'm sitting here trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? I think I'm going to try to get David to handle ordering the shirts because it's like a very product thing. And
Yeah.
Since the Scam Stuff boys handle all of the tracking after it gets printed, I feel like it makes sense for them to handle the getting it to the printer.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Especially because it ends up going to the fulfillment center anyway, which is like another thing that they kind of need to be on top of with tracking it from the printer to that center too.
Yeah, and they've been handling that. So there's no change in that regard. And they help fulfill it by sending it out to the patrons who've ordered the shirt. And then I will handle sending the art to the guy who prints the designs.
Okay.
Since I typically do a lot of the artwork.
Yeah. And we're talking about, if you're watching on the video, the hand injury shirt for quarter one, right?
Yeah.
But it also sounded like you were looking at shirts and found a complication with brands.
Well, there's just we found a model shirt that we decided to go with. Brian and I looked at shirt product models a while back, but it doesn't come in all the sizes we need. Some of the sizes on the far end. On either side aren't necessarily supported, and that happens with a lot of models of shirt.
Yeah.
So I just needed to find a suitable alternative for those far end sides.
I see.
And I think I did. So
Cool.
I whipped up some numbers for David just a day or two ago, and it sounds like we're gonna get those shirts ordered this week.
Cool.
And then they'll probably get picked up by the guy who does the prints within a day or two of the order being fulfilled. And then I don't really know how long it takes to get them printed and shipped to the distribution center, but that'll happen, and then they'll
go from the
distribution
to the people. Yeah.
So it's all a bit of a process. We're definitely still on track for shirts getting printed and shipped in this quarter, which anytime we stay within 1 quarter of fulfillment, I feel like is
is within the tolerance of success.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially since it's like we don't have somebody who's dedicated on product fulfillment for Patreon. It's all just like, we're scrambling to figure out how to make this work.
Yeah.
You know. But it's looking okay.
Okay.
And
Nice.
we got design in already for next quarter.
That's right. And it's not from you. You didn't have to make it this time.
Our first guest artist, which is neat.
I would pull it up, but I can't get Slack on this computer. But can we can tease who did it, right? It's set in stone that it's going to be that?
Yeah.
You might remember him from the Modern Rogue episodes on beer.
Mm-hmm.
John Rubio from the Beerists is also a graphic designer, and he's going to be doing the quarter 2 design.
Yes,
is what I believe it is. Yeah, it looks really cool. It's. I only remember seeing it a little bit, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed it reminded me a little bit of the 3 like public shirts that we have for the Modern Rogue, where they're a little more ornate looking.
Sort of. Yeah, although those shirts are more like title treatments of like the Modern Rogue texts that are kind of done up.
Yeah.
Or at least that would be the black one. The gray one was a little bit more of like a beer design.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one is it's like got a skull and some stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's got warrior.
There's like a knife. I think.
Yeah, there's a knife through it. I actually have it here.
Oh
yeah, the skull. It's got a knife through it, an eye patch, and a mustache for warrior, scoundrel, and rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool.
It's really cool. Actually, I really like it in black and white because I have my phone set to grayscale. When I saw it, it looks like a punk rock T-shirt.
Yeah.
Huh.
So.
Okay. Yeah.
And maybe I'll share that in the Discord tonight, and then I'll share it more publicly soon.
Yeah, we try to make sure that people can see the designs before they pick between that or something else. You know,
that's the most ideal scenario.
Yeah,
where we go.
That's what we want to do.
I feel like of one of the quarters we maybe had the design in come so late that people couldn't really see it before they pledged. But that's it's nice to have it done this early in the quarter because people can be more informed.
Yeah, for sure. One other Modern Rogue thing is that the Modern Rogue guest interviews are coming out. Anthony's came out.
You're looking at the wrong month.
Looking at the wrong month. But it's in. Wait, isn't there one in here? No, there's not. Oh, Bill Doran's interview came out.
No, but it will come out soon.
Coming out very soon. Oh, right, because we're waiting for the 3rd Bill Doran episode to come out, which would be in 2 weeks.
It'll be this week. We pushed it up a week.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
So yeah, this week is going to be the final of the 3 that we shot recently. And hopefully I'll get the Bill Doran interview soon. I haven't started it yet, but usually those edits go by a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. And
you'll get to see the viewers will get to see the like aftermath of them being out in the sun for like 2 hours.
Yeah,
because they're all sunburned for that whole interview.
Yeah, they're very sunburned.
Which is it's a good interview, but I remember we were shooting. I was like, these motherfuckers are all burnt to hell. This is very funny. It's like a I don't know, Schadenfreude sort of thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every time I hear about Modern Rogue shoots, you guys are always like, "Oh, we're outside for like 8 hours in the sun with no water," or like nobody put on sunscreen. Or I feel like I need to come again and just be like an adult that's like, I brought sandwiches. Boys take a break for 15
everybody
minutes.
Drink your juices right now.
Right.
Well, that's why I've been keeping water in the backseat of my car. It was because it may not be cold, but at least we'd have water for these shoots where no one plans to bring water.
Yeah, I always bring my big water jug thing, and I usually burn through most of it.
And that one, at least with that ballistics gel episode, which is coming out next week, we were really only out there for like an hour and a half or 2 hours. It wasn't like an all day, start of the day to the end of the day thing.
And it was really nice and comfortable for the first half of it.
Right, because it was really cloudy.
There was a lot of overcast stuff, which of course you could still get sunburn with overcast. But.
Sure. But then by the end, the clouds started to part, and it was like it kept shifting.
Yeah.
Also, that shoot. reminded me that the cameras have the viewfinder monitors, which I probably spent the first like 20 or 30 minutes of that shoot like trying to fucking make the LCD be visible in like the harsh direct sunlight.
Yeah.
And then I saw you like peeking into the thing. I was like, oh god damn it, that thing probably works, huh?
Yeah. It's super helpful. I've been really making use of that the past like 2 months, because also sometimes it's easier to, depending on the lens that you're using, sometimes it's easier to check focus.
Yeah.
In that little viewfinder.
Yeah.
Because I think there's like a little bit of over sharpening on it.
Oh yeah.
Or at least it looks a little bit sharper than the
it could be because
the back
it's
display.
Because it's smaller,
maybe.
Or there's a tighter pixel density on it. I don't know. But yeah, it was a thing where I was like, because I think I ended up using that on another shoot not long after. Like I think we did a scam school after that I was using it a little bit on. But yeah, that's gonna be a good episode. That's coming out next week, from when we are recording this.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Scam School Remix.
Okay.
You, Brandt and Jeff, you do a few Scam School remixes.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, that's the Monday show on the Scam School channel where they take old episodes and cut them down and bring them. Oh, we brought out the notebook.
I mean, sometimes I take notes on things.
No, it's good. No, I'm glad. I'm excited. So it sounds like you found some new tricks of the trade for a remix.
Well, I feel like I found like the actual functional purpose of Scam School Remix.
Okay.
After like 3 years.
How many years? Yeah. So lay it on us.
Well, Scam School Remix is such a weird thing because from like early on, I just kind of didn't really see the point. Like I understand like the marketed pitch for it of, hey, there's a lot of people who subscribe now who aren't going to go back and watch the old catalog, so we strip it down to its core essentials and we just teach the trick, and it's like, here you go, and we take out the old dumb ads and we take out a bunch of like weird artifacts of the older era of Scam School.
Yeah, especially because those older episodes were very long, like just intentionally long.
Yeah, like you could take like a 15-minute episode of old Scam School and trim it down to like a 6-minute episode of Scam School Remix, and that's including the Brian's rapper of the beginning and end, where he's like, "Hey, this is a Scam School Remix," and I understood that, but I also kind of thought, well, why don't they just watch the video and skip past the parts that they don't want to see? But like, I get it. There's something to be said about me spending time to cut down an experience that will save a cumulative, much larger time for other people.
Yeah.
But then just recently, I started noticing that there's a problem with Scam School, and it's been around since like the beginning of Scam School and pervasive even to much more recent episodes, like episodes that I worked on and edited. It was a problem for as well.
Yeah.
Where Brian has always been really great about describing how a trick works, but not necessarily why a trick works.
Yeah.
So he'll give out the steps and instructions you need to do to replicate the trick without maybe not always explaining the underlying mechanics that allow you to truly understand what exactly is happening with each of those steps, so that you could adapt it and make that trick your own if you wanted.
Yeah. Because like, especially when there's math stuff involved, sometimes it ends up being like, but trust me, the math works out that if you do this, then this works. Or maybe we'll give like a link or a bit.ly to like, here's the real thing.
Somebody else figured it out. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So problem identified.
Yeah. So with Scam School Remix, there's an opportunity to go into some of these episodes and really break down exactly what's happening and why it's happening, and then reintegrate that into the Scam School Remix. And it makes it a much longer editing process to do that. But we did that with like the calculator trick reveals a phone number episode. That was from 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's a very classic math problem kind of situation. But I notice I've sort of developed this sense on working on Scam School and Modern Rogue where when somebody says something, I can tell whether it's like a little bit of editorializing or if it's statement of fact. And if it's statement of fact, I try to verify it. And Diamond Jim Tyler mentioned in here that, oh yeah, it has to be a 7-digit number for this to work. And that just tickled my brain in a way that I went, I don't know about that. Let me try to figure out why it needs to be a 7-digit number. And come to find out, there's like a formula to it, and they explain the steps to get to the solution. But they don't really explain how the formula works. And once you see how the formula works, you can understand why he might have thought that it was a certain way. So like in that formula, there are 2 variables. It's like, put in, the first 3 digits of your phone number, not including your area code.
Sure.
And then put in your last 4 digits of your phone number. Do some math stuff to make it look jumbled up, and then basically decode it at the end. And there's your phone number. Wild. But the last 4 digits, that variable, totally accurate. It has to be the last 4 digits.
Yeah.
The first 3 digits, it's not true. Really, what that variable is everything before the last 4 digits.
Okay.
So if it's a 7-digit number, that happens to be the first 3. If it was a 10-digit number
with the area code,
it would happen to be the first 6 numbers.
Sure.
Right. And the reason that works is because once you take the whole equation and you simplify it down, it basically says, hey, this first part, you're just going to multiply that by 10,000, which moves it over 4 decimal places.
Yeah.
And there are zeros in those first 4 decimal places. So when you add the last 4 digits,
it always adds the last 4 in the up to 1,000th place.
Yeah, it just fills in those spots, so you get the full number. So it was the kind of thing where Diamond Jim Tyler probably learned it with 7 digits, and I think it's a little bit better of a routine with 7 digits because it's like, they don't put in their area code, and there's a little bit more misdirection and stuff like that. But then there are people in other countries where 7-digit phone numbers aren't really a thing.
Right. It's a different amount of numbers.
Right. Or maybe they have international codes that they use really regularly or
Country
whatever.
Codes, yeah.
Yeah, there are a whole slew of different size numbers that could be used for this trick. And the way that it's taught in that original episode, everybody in the comments were like, this just doesn't work for me because I don't work in a country that has 7-digit phone numbers.
I see.
So if you actually teach the core fundamental basics of, no, actually this is anything before the last 4 digits, then it can be adapted for whoever wants to use it,
Interesting. That's a really interesting thing where we were talking a little bit before the stream started about having explanations, giving very specific explanations. Specifically, Jeff, you're working on an episode of Scam School now that has a specific way that you do it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there is some thought that goes into it, right? Whether it's it looks better with so many digits, or it is easier to remember if you do it in a certain way. Or maybe there's just some subtlety that they don't explain when we shoot stuff or when stuff gets shot to justify doing it a certain way. And when if it's something like, you do this magic trick in a very particular way, it can be, well, if you know magic, you know that you can bend stuff to fit however you need it to fit, because usually you have a goal. And so if the goal is getting someone's phone number, you would do 7 digits. But if the digits are, but when it becomes a math thing like this, where it's very formula focused, not having that raw principle as a part of the explanation makes that part tougher, because that's saying that's not a magic trick anymore. That's a math problem. And for a show that is aimed at magicians and amateur magicians, or just magicians of any skill level, you can't expect them to have the same ability to adapt.
Right.
That if you say, we do this very specific shuffle, but it could be any shuffle. that kind of comes up with forces a lot.
That's what I really liked about the bracelet episode, was that they basically talked to Hindu force, but then said, but you can use whatever force you want to get the card out.
And like that force thing happens a lot in the show. I think that's our most like common expression of this idea of just like, well, I showed you it doing this way. This is the way we're going to teach you, but you just need a force here, and you need to do some move that moves the cards or whatever. But yeah, with the math stuff especially, that gets tricky if there isn't if there's not the educational element. We actually had a similar thing. I wonder if we talked about it on this show with the magazine book test from David Rangel. I think that was David. This was a month or two back. I think, was that you, or was you, Jeff, that did that one, right?
Yep. It's like 4 or 5 episodes ago, something like that.
And that was the sort of thing when we looked at it, it was like, well, he sets up, spoiler alert, he uses a chase deck and sets up the conditions where there are only, when he explains it, there are only 3 possible pages and words he could end up with. But actually looking at it, there's actually a 4th.
It's because he says face card. And I think that what it came down to was whether you count the ace as a face card.
Yeah.
Or whether you're
And so it's the sort of thing where I think it ended up just saying like, hey,
we could just put a note that said you could also have the other one as well.
Right. Because that's the sort of thing where the math is not very difficult, especially because it's based in the magic principle of a chase deck. And, you see what the 3 are and you think, well, you can't do the next one up because then you start getting into face cards, but could you do the next one down? And you probably could if you don't consider the ace a face card, but someone's going to ask. And that's something where people kind of know, where like, I think if you gave that to a layman who like knew like we weren't even targeting at magic people, just teaching them a trick on like wired.com, that might pass someone by. Or it may even look like incompetence almost of like, well, I see what you're doing, but you missed that you can also do this. Like I think that's a good observation that you found about issues of teaching and where fundamentally you teach stuff.
And I think also sometimes, depending on the trick, sometimes it's just way more interesting to understand the fundamental mechanics underneath it.
Yeah.
This past week we had a Secret Number Stacks remix episode, and I was watching through it, and I just didn't feel like I really grasped exactly what was happening because, again, they just explained the steps. I feel like I'm picking on Diamond Jim Tyler because both of these are Diamond Jim Tyler episodes, but this happens throughout all of Scam School.
Yeah. We have like a lot of math stuff with Diamond Jim, which I think maybe leans it in a certain direction like that.
Maybe.
It's interesting because all the recent Diamond Gem stuff that I've seen has all just been mostly card tricks.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think at some point we told him like, hey, we've had a lot of puzzles lately. Can we do some magic stuff? We had a point of I think before one of these last Diamond Gem tricks, because he knows tons of stuff. He's got the Bamboozlers books and stuff, and I had to tell him like, hey, you can do anything you want to do. You can do old stuff, new stuff, whatever, but please, no size Stebbins tricks. We've done like 8 size Stebbins tricks, and people are gonna get really annoyed if we do anymore. I'm sorry, I cut you off though.
Yeah, and so this trick is really interesting to me because, like, yeah, you could go through the steps and it just kind of works. It's one of those things where Brian might go, I just follow these steps, and it's like magic to you performing it because you don't understand how it works just as much as they don't understand how it works. But it was super clever because it's like you have a full deck, it's no order. You can borrow the deck, whatever. Put it out into 3 even stacks, right? So it's going to be roughly 17 cards, and 18 cards.
Yeah.
You give it out to 3 different people. They all pick a card in their stack. Doesn't matter what the card is. They put it out in front of them, put the stack on top of it. So now you just force it straight to the bottom. Then they pick a secret number that they think of. The number has to be 10 to 15, and the stipulation that the secret number that they pick has to be between 10 to 15 is what caught my attention and made me go, oh, I need to understand this because there's a reason it needs to be 10 to 15. So they pick the secret number, and then they pick up the stack and they deal down that secret number, drop it on top. Yeah. So now the chosen card that they had is roughly in the middle, sort of. Diamond Gem Tyler moves the decks around, gives it to other people. They then take that stack, deal down their own secret number, drop the stack on top. So it's still kind of in the middle-ish. Diamond Gem Tyler mixes it around again.
Okay.
And then one more time, deal out the secret number. And then the chosen card is on top for every person. And it's really fascinating because basically what it is you start with the card on bottom, and then you deal out your secret number, put it on top. So basically you've taken that chosen card and displaced your secret number from the bottom. Now, because everybody's chosen number is 10 to 15, it's more than half of the stack, assuming that, 17 to 18 cards, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So it's in the top half.
Okay.
They move around the stacks. The next person also has a number that's greater than half. So they're dealing down those cards, and then they're basically reversing the order.
Right.
And so that card, instead of being, a secret number from the bottom, it's now a secret number from the top.
Oh.
And then Diamond Gem Tyler takes the stack and gives it back to the original person. And then
who reverses it one last time.
And then they're not even reversing it. They're just undoing that original displacement.
Okay.
Because it's X from the top. So they deal down X.
Yeah.
And there it is on the top. And it's like really clever and interesting, but they kind of don't really visually demonstrate how clever it is.
Yeah.
And so it's also like a weird, tricky thing of going, okay, so I sat down and figured out this trick and I understand exactly how it works. How do I use the existing format and structure of how they originally taught it and work in my new information into it? And it's a very weird problem, but I think it has the potential to really make those old episodes a lot more informative than they were previously.
Yeah.
And just imbue a lot more value than it might otherwise have.
Yeah, and I mean I feel like that's a good principle for that show, which is like trying to digest these topics, but make them also feel both more informative for people who have already seen it, and creating a precedent that you might learn more from it than you originally did, but also keeping it as informative as an entire episode of Scam School, hopefully like we would make today. But even still, stuff falls through the cracks.
Also, every now and then you get to do fun little things where there's an old episode where Brian misspoke and he said 2 times 4 equals 4. And so it's there were tons of comments I don't understand, because it makes things really unclear, because it's okay, well, either you meant 2 times 2 equals 4 or you meant 2 times 4 equals 8, and the difference is a pretty big one.
Yeah.
So which one is it? And so it's go in there, sample that 2, and just 2 times 2 equals 4, even though his mouth says 4.
Yeah.
And nice. So it's it's a fun little thing that if you're not really paying attention, you wouldn't it'll slip right by you.
Oh wow, that's great.
Again, I'm so glad that my last remix episode was just putting the thread through a dollar bill. You're saying that, I was just oh no, what have I done wrong?
Let's change gears just a little bit. I want to talk about some of the podcast stuff briefly. Last week we talked about, and I mean actually last week, not last episode of this show, on the Night Attack podcast and on the live stream over at twitch.tv/Night Attack, about the guys are going to be doing new live shows. So we are pretty much confirmed. We're already selling tickets for one of these shows. Night Attack is going to be in San Diego and Los Angeles, June 9th and June 10th. Tickets are already available for the LA show. I think it's at I don't know the bit.ly for it, but we tweeted it at the Night Attack Show account. I'm sure we'll be pimping it on the Night Attack podcast more and more. And I think the thing with the San Diego show is we have the venue, but they don't have a ticketing provider, so we have to like roll our own, or we have to go to like Eventbrite or something. But it's not going to be the Night Attack podcast as it like traditionally is. Like, I think if you look at like say if you looked at my brother and me and their live shows, or like Comedy Bang Bang and their live shows, where they're pretty much the just a version of the actual podcast, I think this will be a little more formatted in that I think that they're selling it as Night Attack : the best of the worst of the internet, like as the name of a show, ostensibly. So they're kind of making it about like, oh, like remember like the old internet. Here we have a little bit of copy here. Brian and Justin take their sweet time as they delve into the highs and lows of the internet's early days, from bulletin boards to the hamster dance. Nothing will be off limits during this interactive panel show hosted by the Billboard comedy chart-topping duo. And I think the person who is helping us organize these really liked the tagline "Best of the Worst of the Internet," which is what we use on Patreon and has been tied to the show spiritually for a long time, I suppose. And liked that as a way to sort of sell people on the show. Like, it's not necessarily a podcast. It is going to be this thing about the internet. And so I think that's kind of framing it. But it's been really interesting for me on this side of it, because it's mostly been Justin and the person that we're organizing the shows with, who are trying to set stuff up and format everything. Because that's always been the thing I don't like about doing live shows, is like trying to set them up and book venues and stuff. That stuff is just out of my wheelhouse, and is a weird a phone tag and time commitment thing that I just am not like socially adjusted for all the time. I have a horror story of booking a thing. So this wasn't Night Attack. This is for when this was when Brian and John went to DEF CON a few years back in Las Vegas, and we shot a bunch of episodes of Scam School in Las Vegas. And we knew we were gonna do it with Matt King, who is a Vegas magician,
right?
And it was just like, well, find us a place, find us literally anywhere, and we'll book it. And it's someone who doesn't live in Las Vegas and doesn't know, like, oh, is this too far away from any given thing? Is this? Well, I don't even know what this place is like. There's one place that I called. So I called up a bar, because we tend to shoot Scam School in bars, and we bring a certain crowd of people with us. We bring people in who buy drinks and stuff. So it's usually a copacetic relationship.
Sure.
And I was trying to tell this person on the phone about it. And I don't know if I was like super nervous or what, but their like first response was like, so you want to use my clients for what? And I was like, oh, I'm not even like on the same caliber. Like, they're calling their patrons, fucking clients. I'm like, oh, this is not the right fit. So I just had to be like, you know what, this is maybe you know what, bye. It was almost exactly that. So I'm very glad that we have someone who has been helping. I think she has helped. The organizer has helped Justin with some of his live shows that he's been doing lately for the politics stage show. So kind of bringing that partnership over to the Night Attack and doing like ticketed Night Attack shows. These are the first like ticketed pay Night Attack shows. So I hope it's good. I think they're trying to like figure out like what bits from the show work well within this like idea of the stage show, and what might not, but it's kind of in their hands. And so I have a little bit of a control freak tendency, so but it's also something I don't want to deal with. So I'm trying to be like, you're gonna do great. You're gonna do fantastic. It's in 2 months. You're gonna do great. So and there's a lot of logistical stuff about it that we don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure I'll go for these shows, and we'll probably try to film them. And in my mind, what they are is that they will just at some point after they happen, they will take place of that week's live streamed show of the podcast, because they won't be exactly the same. They shouldn't be, hopefully.
Right.
And so that will mean they just get, like with any of our live shows, they get the next week off, or they get a week off as it like balances out. But I don't know if that's what's going to happen, because I won't necessarily know what our capability to record stuff will be, what our capability to film stuff will be, if the venues have filming stuff. I don't know. Or I mean, rather, if they have stipulations. So that's coming soon. More information, nightattack.tv is where you can find that show and more stuff about that. The other podcast thing. So Andrew Main, who is kind of like the main host of the Weird Things podcast that Brian is on, which records on Mondays, has been working on a secret project. And it's a sort of, so like he's also an accomplished author. Mm-hmm. He does magic stuff.
Host of Andrew Main show on
Andrew Main and Do Not Trust Him on the A&E networks.
That's the one.
Yeah. So he's working on a thing, and he hasn't talked about it because he's just busy working on it. I think he's out doing it right now. I don't want to
close.
But it's the sort of thing where, like, I guess the idea was approved, but because of what the nature of it was, it needed to be done. A part of it needed to be done very quickly because of the time of the year, I guess. And so he's been like focusing on that and like the technology and pre-planning stuff. And now he's out somewhere doing something.
He's developing the flu vaccine.
Oh.
It's very specific to the time of the year. He's out there doing it.
Well, I don't know that the best time of year for the flu vaccine would be right
at the tail end,
at the end of flu season. Right?
But you got to get that jump on next year's flu.
That's why it changes, though. It'll be different in 8 months.
That's why you gotta keep your eye on the prize, Bryce. You shouldn't trust him. His show says so.
Damn, I forgot about it. Don't trust him. And so what that does mean is that because it is a very high priority thing, he hasn't been able to be on the Weird Things podcast, which is tough because that is a show where he pulls the topics for and leads the discussion on.
Right.
And so for the past 2 months, month and a half, 2 months, with the occasional exception, I have been hosting Weird Things, which is fine. I've been listening to Weird Things for a long time, and I listen to it every week, and so I have a good sense of a good tenor and cadence for that show, what it should be, and the sorts of stories that work out. But it's been a very weird, experience.
Don't you just sit around and say Bigfoot, space elevator, gremlin, elf?
Elf, okay, yeah. Elf. We should go back to elf. Actually, this past one we just did on yesterday was the first time we've had a story about snakes in a long time.
Yeah, classic topic.
Snakes, yeah. And it's been interesting because I think Andrew has his own cadence of the show, which is maybe a little. A lot of what Weird Things is usually the things that are interesting Andrew at any given moment, and so it tends to have a lot of
SpaceX
stuff and
right. Elon Musk.
That, right. Don't forget about Elon. Which.
Hi, my name is Andrew Main. Elon Musk.
Hold on, let me put on my SpaceX hat. Helmet. And so I kind of keep tabs on SpaceX stuff generally, but it almost always ends up being oh man, can you believe they did this launch? We had no idea about it. It's becoming so routine, right? And then Tesla stuff is occurring, but a lot of it is very low level, today, not future-y stuff and concerns. And so we kind of haven't had a lot of that lately. Oh yeah, the Boring Company updates, the his tunneling thing with the flamethrowers and all. But it's just been interesting of like so much of anyway, what I was saying is so much of that show is based on what Andrew likes, and so it ends up being a little monologue is not the right word. Monologue sounds inflammatory, but the nice version of monologue in a good word. He tends to go, he has stances on things, and he's very knowledgeable. He's the most knowledgeable person on that podcast about science stuff. And so having him like not be there means that it's been a little looser. It's effectively Night Attack. It is Night Attack, but I'm hosting it, and it's about sciencey stuff, kind of. But that ends up meaning that we talk about like glass, turning your ashes, your cremains into glass objects. And what glass objects would you be? Well, you could be like a vase or a bong or a marital aid. It's been a very loose show. So I don't know. It's been a weird thing because I kind of went from a mostly behind the scenes spot to in the spotlight,
right?
Which is weird. It's like if you suddenly were like doing the rapper stuff for Scam School Remix.
That would be weird.
Like Scam School, Scam School Remix.
I would just not do them. I just say, well,
just Scam School Remix episode done.
Yeah, and
that's it.
Maybe I would do an outro that's like, here are the buttons. We have to do an end card screen. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
You would do that instead of like just the graphic, just the bubble graphic for 10 seconds.
Oh yeah, maybe it's just a blank background. It's just like shoot this.
Why shoot anything?
Just empty.
Use a graphic.
Next time Brian is out of town, call me, and I just want to inexplicably be the guy that's introducing Scam School Remix. It's got my name at the bottom, and I'm just like, "Hey, everybody! This week we got a great trick for you." And they're just like, "Who is this guy?"
Who's that guy?
That was pretty good.
Oh my god!
And then go through the footage and just do that weird thing where you paste my head on top of Brian's head for the entire episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we one of the early behind the scam episodes that I did, it was a sort of thing where, because this was back when I was living up north, and so it was like an hour drive each way.
How was that?
And glad I'm not doing it anymore. And is the sort of thing where like the night before I would want to like, okay, so like, hey, what are the beats that are doing? Do you have an idea for which we want to shoot? Make sure to keep it tight and make good use of our time. And one of the like weird things Brian, because I think Brian just sometimes says stuff expecting about half the stuff he says to not ever happen. One of the things he said was like, oh well, if you want to get like ahead on it, you could film, like you could like put together a mock-up of the behind the scam. Which, like, a lot of stuff on behind the scam you probably could do ahead of time. If you've got B-roll, if you've got footage from other stuff, music, whatever, you could kind of put that stuff in there. So I ended up, like, with my webcam, like, doing, like, behind the scam, like, it's in my apartment. And it was like, hey, okay, it's behind the scam, the show. Okay, here are winners. Oh, look at that. And then they had the graphic come up and it had placeholder names. And like, great, here's the thing that we're selling. It does this thing. And oh, look, it does this thing. But also it does this thing. Look at it in action. And apparently, so I posted that, and I guess he sent it around to...
I remember seeing this, I think.
It was... I think with time, it's very funny. Though I think it's actually aged out of being relevant because we don't do behind the scam or that format really anymore.
Right.
But it was because I remember Andrew Main specifically being like, oh man, I saw your behind the scam video. I was like, my what? He what? So that's weird things. That's the weird things update. I'm those. Probably like I'll probably be like in the hosting role for another week or two, while Andrew does the thing that he's doing. We got a few more things here we can talk about really quickly. So we don't have a whole lot of Modern Rogue full episodes like in the bank right now. We mentioned it's slow, so we're kind of eating into reserves. But we have a lot of like.
Eventually, we're gonna have to get to that PC building episode that I've been putting off for months.
Oh yeah. So we have like 5 unfinished. Or not unfinished, but like mini episodes. So you've got like the number says 5 here. How many of them are unfinished and how many of them are mini? Are they all mini? Oh wait, no, we shot a bunch of mini ones. That's right. I remember that. Okay, can you tell us a little bit about these?
Sure. We've got 5 episodes and they're not full episodes. It was kind of a thing where we went, oh well, here's like a cool idea that we could do, but the only way it makes sense to do in a full Modern Rogue episode is if we like bunch them together and do like multiple per episode.
Yeah.
So let's just take this idea and explore it real quick, and then if you have some spare time, you could put it out in the middle of the week or something, and then it kind of paves the way a little bit for multiple episodes per week, but is like
not 2 full-sized episodes immediately.
Yeah, it's not. They're not going to be 40-minute episodes or anything like that.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the first one we did was the length of a full episode, and then the other ones went by a little bit faster. But it's like I barely have time to make episodes as it is, so I haven't been able to even start working on these. Yeah. But we've had them for a little while now.
I forgot about that. I think that's why I thought we had more episodes in the bank than we did, because I think because we did that that was like a 2-day. We did 2 days of that, and both days were mini episodes. Is that right?
That might be right.
Because I remember like a little while after I got there being like, wait, they're talking about doing something like it was a day where I was not keyed in and I was maybe not in a great mood. So I was like, okay, whatever. They're doing something different. I don't know. I don't need to be clued in on it. Do you think that those could just end up being episodes if need be? Or would you like them to remain like a different thing?
I could see that maybe if we got behind on shooting episodes or something, I put out 2 in a week.
Okay, 2 of the mini ones?
2 mini ones.
Okay.
So that way it would be a little bit more manageable, but we would have something going out that week. I don't know. Right now it's such a weird balancing act because it's like I've been trying to get out of doing Scam School Remix for like a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And it's not like it's a ton of work, but it does take up some of my time. And then Modern Rogue is pretty much just the episode is a full work week for me for the most part, depending on the episode. And then you have things like, doing community management with all of the YouTube stuff and doing, community management in the Discord, and then doing, at some point, maybe do first pass edits, and at some point, maybe do extended outtakes, and at some point, do this, and at some point, do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a lot of juggling of priorities of saying, okay, I haven't done an extended outtakes in 3 months. I have to do at least one, which there is an extended outtakes out now for patrons. Will come out publicly on Thursday. And then, we haven't done this in a while. I've got to do this. I've just got to make time for it. And, things like first pass edits and extended outtakes are all, they're very optional. They're all very easy to drop week to week if need be for time.
Yeah.
And things like doing closed captions for videos. We haven't had closed captions on videos in like 4 months, 5 months. And I just did one this past week because I said this is a shorter episode and I would really love it if we had some. So it's the kind of thing where like, when am I gonna find time to do a Modern Rogue episode that is like, I have no idea how much work it's going to take. And also it kind of just fits in somewhere randomly. And also it's the kind of thing where I'll probably have to put in time to try to figure out and understand what the format of that even looks like. Even though it's shot, there's a certain degree of presenting it.
Yeah, they hosted it a little differently.
Yeah, and also like there's no cold open on those, which was something I thought of doing just to differentiate it from full episodes, to be like, this is just a thing, we're just gonna get in and get out, and it's just a video of the thing.
Yeah.
But like I don't know if there's gonna be like any branding on there. I don't know what the pacing or the format's gonna look like. I have no idea. So it's something that we've got, but who knows when it'll become a thing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm interested to see like kind of what they look like when they're edited down, because they're a little. I remember them trying to be a little more snappier when they were doing it. The episode of just like, we're gonna do it and it's gonna go through super quick and we're gonna break all these steps down and we don't need a lot of fluff. But I think that's going from a default of like being very like having
Fluffy.
a lot of fluff. Yeah, I mean basically like trimming the fat off of a very fatty piece of meat, basically. Like there was already a lot on there before, so what does it look like? What does like the slimmest version of that look like?
Right.
It'll be interesting to see.
Let me pitch you this schedule.
Okay.
And I feel like it's a real pie in the sky dream.
Okay.
But I would love it if it were to happen. A lot of my favorite people on YouTube put out videos when they're done with their videos.
Mm-hmm.
We put out videos. Modern Rogue puts out videos at 10 a.m. every Friday.
Sure.
Which is a beautiful dream. And I'm sure a lot of people love going, oh, it's Friday. I can expect a Modern Rogue exactly on Friday at 10 a.m., even though they usually come out at like 2 or 3 p.m. But sometimes it's 11 a.m., but sometimes it's 9 p.m. like last week.
Yeah.
I would love it so much if we can say, okay, let's have an ideal posting of like, okay, well, videos can't be more than this far apart, but let's just whenever a video is done, you just post it the next day. And it would be nice because then you could go, okay, well then maybe patrons get a little bit of early access. Maybe they get like 12 hours early access or something. Okay. And then it goes public the next day at 10 a.m. or whatever. And then also it's like, I feel like I'd be able to so much better prioritize going, okay, we're doing an episode. I'm editing this episode. And if it takes 2 days to edit, then you get an early episode. If it takes 6 days to edit for some reason, then it's like I'm able to put in 6 days of editing into it instead of compressing that into 2.5 days or whatever. And like ultimately, I just really do not like this weird thing of like, I work on it throughout the week to try to get it into a good place. And then Thursday I wake up in the afternoon and go, okay, buckle up, because it's going to be 20 hours of editing straight, like no breaks.
Yeah. I'm
working throughout the entire night. And then it's like when the renders go wrong or something, and it's like, okay, I'm fighting through exhaustion, and I can barely stay awake anymore, but I can't go to sleep because this episode has to go out. I'm already 4 hours past deadline. And it's like, if I go to sleep, then this episode doesn't come out till the next day at best.
Right.
And if there's a sponsor on it, this episode doesn't come out till Monday because sponsors are like, we take off weekends because we're not fucking suckers like you guys. Yeah. And so it's like, it puts me in a really tough situation at the end of like every week, unless an episode just happens to come together really fast in the week. And it would also be nice to be like, oh, people love the extended outtakes. Well, maybe every other week or something, I just say, well, I'm not even going to start the next episode until this outtakes is done. That's just going to be like, that's going to be that video that I work on for 2 to 3 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I work on the episode, and then maybe I take the day after the episode publishes and I just sit down and fully do the full transcription. And so there would be a more reliability of things like that happening. If the schedule allowed for a little bit of distribution of work, instead of saying, no, this has to come out on this arbitrary time. And I'm sure Brian probably has a lot of like, well, actually this study says that the most ideal time for videos to go up and for traffic is this time. And there's probably credence to that, absolutely. And there's probably something to be said about like the algorithm loves it when you post videos this far apart from other videos. And that's great and everything, but sometimes it's just like, it just weighs down on me really heavy some weeks.
Yeah. I definitely like feel a lot of that, even just through Slack, when stuff goes wrong on a Friday, or there's still a lot to be done on Friday and stuff is not finished. Like, and I think part of that, we've talked before on the show about like, it would be great if we shot shorter episodes, or if we were just like keeping them tighter and more focused, because that means a lot less edit time for you.
Because there are definitely some episodes where it's like, yo, I could push this out in 2 days flat. If it's hard to even come up with a good example, because usually episodes do take a billion years. But Trevor episodes are usually pretty tight and trim, and we've had a few here and there. Like a lot of the martial arts episodes don't typically perform super well, but they are like really condensed a lot of times, at least in shoot times and stuff.
Yeah, the Krav Maga ones were really short. They were like 20 minutes to shoot.
Yeah, some of them even shorter than that.
Yeah.
And so it's the kind of thing where it's like, sometimes Brian's like, yeah, man, if we just had more money on Patreon, we could totally have 2 episodes per week. And it's like, well, we could probably have 2 episodes per week right now. We would just have to shoot the episodes differently.
Yeah.
Because we can't have like 3 to 4 hour episode shoots and then expect me to cut it down to a 30-minute hyper polished episode in a super tight time frame.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this was Shark Tank and I was getting the pitch right now and I was hearing this, I feel like I think it would be easier to make the case to drastically shoot the shows different, shoot them tighter and short. Like it sometimes is crazy to me that we do these 8-hour shoot days on the weekends and then end up with like 2 or 3 episodes. Now I get that stuff takes time,
sure,
and there's setup and stuff, but like also some of the stuff just goes long or just feels long. Versus like I think from the viewer's perspective, I think there are some channels certainly that have irregular schedules, like William Osmond or other like craft and builder channels that are like project focused, but not necessarily are like a show, if you know what I mean. Where it's like, hey, I finished this build and we shot the video while we were doing it, and so now here's after we've edited it. But I think people kind of like to expect stuff on a certain day, and I think that it would still like try to aim for a set day of the week of tighter episodes versus like a loose schedule, if that makes sense.
It's also really tough because we can't really like A/B test anything, because even if you're like, oh well, I feel like we've had a couple instances where episodes have to go out on different days. Usually it's like a sponsor thing, and so it's like, this episode has to go out on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and I feel like people get a little weirded out, like, oh, well, is that going to perform as good as a regular Friday episode? Because everybody looks at Friday. You guys put out episodes on Friday.
And then they end up doing about as well as they normally would.
Yeah, but then also we look at, okay, well, here are all of our Thursday launched Modern Rogue episodes, but that can vary pretty wildly just depending on what it is. Like if it happens to be a martial arts, if we happen to have only posted martial arts episodes on Thursday, people would go, oh, well, Thursdays are a horrible day to post videos because clearly these episodes aren't doing so well. But depending on the title, depending on the subject matter, depending on the thumbnail, depending on the length of the video, depending on what videos came before it, what videos came after it, there's so many variables that there's no way for us as creators to A/B test anything and to like really understand the like analytical perspective of some of these decisions.
Yeah. I mean that's also true.
Especially when YouTube A/B test people. They do it without telling anybody, right? They'll push certain episodes into some people's feeds and not other people's feeds. They'll do weird stuff like that for their own analytics, but they're not transparent about that. They don't tell you any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Is there a new thing with the dumbbell? Did I see that yesterday?
Is there?
There's like hit the bell, but now there's like 3 different versions of the bell, and there's like a show me all of them. I kind of am interested a little bit. I'm like, so you broke subscribe by putting in the bell. Now you've broken the bell because everybody says hit the bell by putting in 3 different bells.
So I'm trying to do it.
You'll get occasional notifications.
So I turned it off, or
you'll get all notifications.
Okay. Well, that's weird because it never used. It used to be you either chose to get all of them or you chose to get none.
Yeah.
And I remember that there was a point where you could choose between all or occasional or none. But now it sounds like they may do push notifications for any channel that you're subscribed to occasionally.
So then what does it mean to be subscribed to a channel but not having hit the bell?
The sub feed subscription page. People forget about the subscription page. It still works exactly like it's supposed to.
It's the only thing I use on YouTube, basically.
Okay.
Though I will say the subscription page is kind of tough. There are channels that I follow that maybe I don't watch all of their stuff, and that slowly becomes noise of just like, well, I don't want to unfollow them because I like this thing, but then I have this huge like array of videos, and it's like, what am I even looking for? Like, what am I looking for in all of this?
Yeah, I do think it could definitely be organized a little bit better.
Yeah, it used to be like this, where you had to go, this like, okay, this is like, what do they call this? List view versus like card view, where like you see the big thumbnail and you only see like 2 videos at a time, and you see the whole title and you see a lot of like the above the fold descriptive text.
Right.
I didn't realize I was still following Zay Frank. But then you get into stuff like, okay, so like I'm following the South Park channel because they used to put clips there. And now they had a new trailer come out, but they didn't like geolock the videos for the different languages.
Nice.
So they put 10 different launch trailers up.
Perfect.
This is, yes, wonderful.
Coachella does the same thing. Actually, and this is the problem with the subpage now, at least on mobile, because the subpage now has community posts. And the Coachella channel just had Coachella the 2 weekends, been posting photos all week, and a lot of them. So it's like when they dump individual songs and when they post photos, I'm like, oh, check it out.
Oh, man.
Aquafina's really getting down with Migos. It's like, oh, okay, this is just a photo of a thing I'm not at and is already over.
Cool.
I'm so glad Patreon's a thing. I'm so glad Patreon is a thing. God.
I don't know. Do you feel like you at least got your piece out about the schedule stuff? I really get. What we deal with on the scam school deadline stuff has got to be a fraction of what you're dealing with because your episodes are can be 6 times longer than our shoot times.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and I know that it's probably an unrealistic dream, but I don't know. I like to think about those things sometimes.
I don't know. I know that it's not the same thing and that it's super easy for you, but everything that you were saying I can relate to, that every Wednesday is a crisis. Every other Wednesday when Scam School's due out, it's a crisis. I can already tell that I'm going to leave here. I'm going to go home. I'm going to record Rage Select for the week, and then I'm not going to sleep until Scam School is published.
Yeah.
I just look at people like Marquez Brownlee, and he's like, sometimes it's like 11 p.m. and he's like, yo, I'm about to post a video. You better get ready to retweet this because I'm about to post a video.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh my God, you precious little child baby boy. I envy your schedule.
Yeah.
I guess the thing is that I don't know though, if it wasn't for the 8 p.m. on Wednesday Scam School deadline, what would that it's so easy when you're overloaded to push stuff off, and that there has to be a kind of like, now I'm in the red zone where it's like you have to do it and it has to be done. And with so much stuff that comes across my plate, I know that without a firm deadline like that, I would be just too tempted to let stuff slide too far.
Yeah, we've talked about this on the show a long time ago, I feel like, but like a lot of the editing that we do ends up being a little last minute, and it's usually hand to YouTube, like hand to mouth. But just like when it's done, it's pretty close to deadline.
I've posted so many videos without watching them before they get posted live.
Yeah.
So many videos.
We've had a few Scam School remixes that go up mute. Remember?
We had one.
Was there? I feel like there's been more than one.
There was one.
Okay.
And to be fair, that was when we were doing 3 versions of the same shit. And I watched the other versions and they were fine.
I see.
And then, that one went out.
Okay.
But also, maybe that's a call for help that I've been trying to get out of Scam School Remix for 1.5 years.
I agree. Hey. I agree. I was actually thinking, in a hypothetical world, if like there wasn't Scam School to deal with, that like I think of like things that I could take off your plate, and things like outtakes and first pass edits, which I know are non-insignificant amounts of time.
Sure.
And as something that it's like when you push something off, it starts to weigh on you, and it gets heavier as time goes on. Like there's plenty of supplemental stuff we've promised people that we could do if we opened up all the Scam School time.
Yeah.
You know?
And also like first pass edits are really easy. They take a lot of time in render, but it's the kind of thing where it's like there's almost no editorializing. There's, sometimes you cut off the beginning and sometimes you cut off the end, and you just have to watch through it once to make sure that nobody says anything that's like
nasty.
Brian's home address is, and then it's like, oh, well, maybe cut that out. But yeah, some of that stuff could probably be pretty well offloaded. But yeah, and it's
or even just like social media stuff. Like we have so many shows, and we John Cheese's wife is doing some of the social media stuff. But it's like we have a lot of shows that are, and not all of them get represented on social media stuff very well. Like I think, so I have like the Night Attack Twitter, which is the thing that I use the most. But like at one point we were trying to do a Weird Things Facebook page, or like revive the Weird Things Facebook page. But then like Tom does the Cord Killers Twitter, which, whenever he has time to even look at it.
Right.
Like I've only just now started trying to post everything to the Reddit, the Diamond Club Reddit, for all the podcasts and stuff, just so that it's somewhere, and at least that fills up that channel with more stuff. But trying to engage people more, because we're so much of our time is like creating stuff that we don't have any time to like
promote stuff,
send it out to and get in front of people. And then when you have YouTube stuff messing with notifications or showing stuff in feeds, that's kind of a snowball of just like, well, you didn't have time to promote this to anybody, so only a certain number of people saw it. If only so many people saw it, well, then maybe we don't need to send it to everybody. And it just kind of, well, I guess it's a reverse snowball.
I was looking into doing, you know how Instagram in the story posts or whatever, they have the some of the
swipe up to link.
Yeah, swipe up to link. But it's restricted to business accounts with people who have 10,000 followers or more.
Oh,
so okay. I was looking.
I don't know why they keep offering it to me. I keep seeing it, and it's like, check out Instagram for business.
Oh yeah.
That's weird.
But yeah, it's like a business offers more analytics, and I looked into switching over, but like I don't think it's really a priority.
Twitter has this new like promote mode. Have you guys seen this?
No.
I think it's like $50 a month or something, and they will just algorithmically promote tweets of yours. And so you can say, hey, like, don't promote this tweet or do promote this tweet, but it's basically like not free, because it's, you know, when it comes to buying ads, it's how much exposure you want to buy. But it's like a subscription for like promoting your tweets, and it's a super weird thing.
Everybody can see my really great cake tweet from the other day.
Yeah. And
Twitter's like, yo, people love this cake tweet. Yeah, we're just going to put that in front of as many faces as we can.
Because you can already tell that Twitter's like home screen algorithm does that. Of like, when you have something that takes off a little bit, they start showing it to more people over time, because you get like mentions for it like way later than you tweeted it.
Yeah.
Social media. Social media.
It's such a mess.
Yeah.
I don't put anything on social media.
Well, you have Rage Select, but is that all like IFTTT stuff? Or do you
I just cross post. That's it. A long time ago, I could never square myself with the idea that anybody would care about the food I was eating or what I was doing or anything. So I was just kind of like, yeah, it's all right.
Well, and like your like user generated stuff is like emails to the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So that's already kind of a self-contained thing. Like, you've been doing it for long enough, people know how that's the way to engage with it.
Yeah.
Which is it's not public, but it's still engagement, right? It's still one-on-one-ish. So we got one last topic here. We talked a little bit about this Game School remix and its usability or its purpose. What were you thinking here about this Game School format?
So it's Game School's been going for about a decade. It has changed over time, but in many ways it's still very similar.
Yeah.
There's some stylistic changes. It's gone through a couple phases. You can kind of, if you watch it through back to front, you could
notice when
you can see
shifts.
The eras.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you guys had any thoughts on how well the structure and format of Scam School still holds up. It's still very much so you guys still do stand-ups? Do you still do the cold open kind of, hey, this is an episode of Scam School?
So the super teas.
Yeah.
When we go film them, we do them. I have been like experimenting more with like not doing them at all. So like this one that came out last week, the pencil sleight of hand stuff, has none. Because it's
just start right into the Scam School song.
Yeah, just start right into the graphic, and then even like not having like a location card, just doing like a location graphic on top of it. Like little things like that. And there are people in the comments is like, oh man, I missed the intro. And it's like, well, what they miss is Brian saying in the bar and on the street a thing that he has not said for over a year now. We've that is a part of the intro that's far dead. So I've been experimenting with that because I want Game School to feel more generous, and the way that when I interact with online media and stuff that's like instructable is I want to get into it, right? And so I generally like the format of like showing you, teaching you, and someone else recaps basically by doing it again. And I think that's a very solid structure, but I want us to get into it way quicker. You know, I think about like music tutorials. If I see a video of like how to achieve this sound or how to copy this or how to make this thing, the very first thing you should have is the thing that you're making, right? I should know the thing that you're trying to sell me on, so I know like if this is the thing that I really want to make. And then I want to see the step by step, and I want to see how granular you can do it, but also, again, keeping with like the music, the music like synth recreation stuff. There are like some big synth programs that people use a lot to like do tutorials and stuff with, but I really like it when they can tell me things that are applicable to other synths, because a lot of the principles are exactly the same. It's just there are different knobs, or each synth is set up differently, but there are a lot of similarities. So if it's something that I can follow along and I don't need it to be this specific thing, then that is something that I feel like the video is valuable for me. And so with the Magic stuff, it's usually not too big of a deal because, hey, you have to set up the cards in a certain way, but whatever, you can use any deck of cards, or here you got to use a pencil, but maybe you have to set up a special pencil or something like that. And so I generally think that the format is good. I just want it to be like, I wanted to get in. I wanted to get in really fast, and if it's longer or if it takes as long as it needs, as long as the educational element of it is as broad-reaching as possible for the stated audience of Scam School, which is people who know zero and people who know at least a little bit about Magic, that they can go in and say, I have the resources to do the thing that you just showed me. I don't know, Jeff. Do you have any like feelings? I know you've been you've been doing Scam School for about a year now. Yep,
about a year. I don't know when it was, but the first one was that Matt doing the trick for. No, the first one was the coin move.
Okay. Yeah. The on the table.
Yeah.
I remember
that was that was just the episode. Like I didn't do any of the rest of the stuff for it. I don't know. I'm torn because part of me, I've got like a bunch of different frames of mind.
Yeah.
Like Scam School is such a bigger channel than Rage Select that in some cases, I know there was a time period where I was looking at, I get real hung up on hits. So I'll look at like the episode that you did last week and the episode that I did the week before. And there was a real string of ones that I felt like were not doing very well, and I was
like in terms of views,
because that's the only metric that I really have. Like I don't like to go into comment sections because when people say mean stuff, it makes me feel real bad because I'm a little baby. So so I don't like to read comment sections very much. So for my general metric tends to just be view count, and so it was trying to figure out like what is it that makes a better video? Is it the subject matter, which I don't have a lot of control over? Is it the way the title is put together? Is it the way the thumbnail, like I've done some that had super flashy thumbnails and I feel like that doesn't really work very well. Like what is it specifically that makes for a better video? I know that when I'm editing, I prefer Magic trick videos. You talk about having a string of, Cy Stebbins decks.
Oh yeah.
I feel like last year, maybe it was in the summer, there was a string of logic puzzles.
A ton of logic puzzles. Yeah.
And that those were just kind of like, I mean, I like the ones where there's a real, like the one with Justin Robert Young where it was about the prisoners. And I think a lot of that was because David and Justin and Brian all worked really well together to make it a real fun episode.
Yeah.
But there were some of those that were very, very long, dry number answers. Like the one, I don't remember the one where Brian literally had somebody set up a program online to like run their scenario. Like,
the dice
100,000 times or something like that. And it was kind of like, eh. So when you were first talking about it, I was thinking maybe going the opposite direction of treating regular Scam School like Scam School Remix and just doing, instead of having the Scam School intro and the title sequence about basically just doing the stand-up and then going right into the first line of the trick without introducing anybody, which I guess would probably feel a little bit quick. But then again, my view of Scam School is very myopic because I see it mostly through the episodes that I've edited. So I don't know, because I don't read the comments, because I haven't been around for a hugely long amount of time, whether the audience is here mainly for the tricks or mainly for the personalities or for a mix of the two, and what mix of the two it is.
When it's tough with looking at like the viewer count as a metric of like success, because so much of YouTube is not about whether you have a good video.
Yeah.
You know, and this is not even necessarily casting shade on, the big guys put out poop, but they get millions of views every day. It's that just there's an element of it that doesn't care whether it's good or not. There's an element of it that it's like, how many people looked at it in the first 10 minutes? How many people responded to these push notifications? How many people that we put on the home screen were going to click on it at this time? You know, what time of day do they put the videos up? What time of day do most people watch? What, you know, all of these various things. There is something, I saw something that was like, hey, if your video in the first 48 hours of your video are going to determine how well your video does with the algorithm.
Right.
Ooh, the algorithm. And I'm sure it's all true. I'm sure people have tested the algorithm and they know how it's thinking today and how it's going to think tomorrow and how it used to think and the way things were. But at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff is out of your hands.
Yeah, I've talked to people before about how I know. I mean, I make Let's Play videos. I could be making a video that was the top 5 reasons The Witcher 3 is the most overrated game, and it would get 2 million hits because people would be in there telling me that I was full of crap. But
yeah, like engagement is another element of it. And so I guess when it comes to the Scam School audience, I think if you've been watching Scam School for a long time, you kind of get a sense of the breadth of types of things that are taught, whether it's magic tricks, card tricks, prop tricks, puzzles, logic things. And I think people are just able to self-select because we generally keep pretty honest titles nowadays, right? Like we try to keep them descriptive enough that they accurately represent what is the thing. And if you're looking for it later, or if you're trying to SEO look for it, that you will find accurately what, we did this puzzle thing. We did the pencil episode last week. And it took me like a couple of hours to find this old video describing the paddle technique, or what Brian called back in the day, the pop move, because it was not called any of that in any SEO. It was like one of the very first episodes that they had done before they were even putting them on YouTube every week. And it was eventually under the Quicksilver technique, which is not, I don't know that that's anything. I don't know that that's anything. But it was just like, man, that sucks. And like I was going back to like the very oldest videos of the channel. It's like, you'll never believe this puzzle. You'll not beat this
Scam hot redheads.
Yeah.
like, okay, I know what that trick is. Sure.
Right. It doesn't. It doesn't create any flag, any memory flag for you. And then those old videos have no keywords attached to them. So it's like you can't just type in paddle move. I'm trying to do that now with stuff where it's like, at least I put the actual name of the move in the keywords. So if we go back and look for stuff, we can find, okay, this one has size sevens. This one's got a chase deck. This one's got the paddle move. But I think there's like an element of self-selection to that doing it the old way of keeping them very generic and just trying to get anybody's attention, like kind of goes counter to. And I feel happy with what we did now, and certainly like the quality of the work is good. Like the game schools that are coming out are good, which is like the metric that's important for me. Like I'm not like a big numbersy guy. I don't follow the numbers every day. You see how the new episode's doing? Man, I probably didn't even watch it. And it's like that stuff. If it's good, then it's good, and people will come back. And in the long term, it will be. It should be bountiful. But in a world where we already don't spend a lot of time to like promote stuff or get stuff in front of people, worrying about how well the number that says how many people clicked on it before even deciding if it was good is not very interesting to me. I think. I think it would be one thing if like we had social media on lock. We were putting in front of everyone. We were buying those $7 Facebook ads. We were putting stuff on Twitter and using the email list for everything. But in a world where we kind of have to let stuff go and just
see where the wind carries it.
Right. I was like, I don't have a net. I can't help with this, and I don't know what a net would do in this analogy. But I can't
catch the wind.
Catch the wind. It's to land among the stars. I can't control anything about it. And I think the things that I can control about it, which we talk about a lot, which is like, oh, we're going to change titles of these videos and stuff. It's like, I think some of that stuff helps with SEO in terms of long-term viewing over time, but I don't think it changes anything in the first 6 hours of a video going up. I don't personally know that changing a video title enough to keep it within the same vein of what we're doing is going to attract anyone at a noticeable difference, unless you were to change it and like make it more vague or more broad, or so that people were more interested or clickbaity or whatever. Like I guess so, but then if that was and then that's A/B testing stuff, right? Like if we had testing to say, oh well, that stuff actually does work better, and we should try to aim to make those initially more in a certain way, then I think I would still be in the same boat of like, okay, well, we did some tests and we said this feels the most optimal, so this is what we're going with, and sending it off.
Yeah. It's a shame we don't have Ryan for this conversation, because I feel like he would have some things to say. It's not like we're recording this in his house right now.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if he's even here. He wasn't here when we showed up.
Yeah. He's probably in Canada.
God, I hope not. No, he's not, because his magic stuff's still downstairs.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember one time, like a year or two ago, he talked to me about like a whole show reformatting. And I think it was one of those moments where Brian's just like floating ideas out and seeing what sticks. But for me, it's like I never really resonated with the part of the show where the guest does the trick, but I understand like the function of it, because it's supposed to be there to be like, oh, they're the audience surrogate, and they're showing you not only like the whole thing is structured around set up. Here's the payoff with their big reaction, which half the time is just Brian reacting, because a lot of times people just don't naturally react super huge.
Yeah.
So Brian a lot of times reacts to his own tricks like, whoa, that's so crazy.
Usually it's been pretty good lately. It's been pretty good with reaction stuff, but there have been times where it's like, oh, no one's reacting.
Especially looking at some of these old episodes for Scam Skull Remix, it's a lot of like, oh, I can see exactly what happened here.
Yeah, the Quicksilver one that I looked up, one of like the very first ones. It's the thing where you have two matches, and they're black on one side and silver on the other side, and you pop them together, and the colors change, and what you're doing is really just like flipping them over very quickly in that percussive moment, and the reaction is so bad. She's like, oh, okay. I'm standing up in this very busy, like it's shot very bad. And they're like, oh, okay. So yeah, there's a history of turbulent reactions.
Yeah. I do agree with you though, after doing a lot of these, that and talking about what you were talking about Scam Skull Remix before, I think it might even be better to be like, here's the trick, here's how to do the trick, and then instead of the audience, here's why the trick works. I guess even if that could fit in as a thing, or even a lot of these, like with the bracelet, about here's 3 forces that you could use to make this trick work, because I feel like that trick didn't need to be.
It was a very simple trick.
It's a super simple trick.
It's crazy simple, yeah.
So
I think one thing, at least from a shooting perspective, having someone else do the trick means that there's more intellectual coverage of like the how to do the trick. Like a lot of times that's where like more specific instruction comes out of. Because a lot of times when we go shoot these stuff, shoot episodes and things, they'll do the trick for everyone at the table, reactions, teach it, and then there's usually like a break, or there's usually a moment between teaching the trick and performing the trick proper, where they say, okay, hey, we're gonna stop and like really make sure you know how to do it. We'll even walk you through it, and a lot of times that's where good finer detail teaching comes out. I
also would really, 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 really like it if we could get access to the audio feed from the mics, because there have been a lot of shoots where I can't hear even one little bit. I do not understand what's going on until the episode's in front of me.
Yeah.
So I feel like if we were shooting and we thought, oh, you could maybe have explained that a little bit better, or I could see where might be a little bit of trouble later, then we could just have them briefly do it again instead of trying to rely on stitching together, what we actually have.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of that, especially when we filmed the handlebar, I can't hear
the last time at Handlebar, it was surprisingly busy for a Thursday night, and it was we were very close to the table, and it was still very hard to hear. Yeah. This was the David Rangel episodes,
and then Matt's trick with Matt's the hat.
Yeah.
There have definitely been a good number of Handlebar episodes where I just go, like if I'm operating an 85 millimeter, I just go, well, I'm just gonna point it at Brian for a while, and if he's like pointing at something on the table, then I guess I'll pan down or something. But it's just like, if Brian has looked at me going, did we get it? And I go, you were there. I don't even know what the trick was.
Yeah. I try and I try to be closer so that I can hear stuff. Like I know like that one handlebar shoot was actually impossible to hear anything, even though I was like 3 feet away from those guys. But generally I try to stay close so I can keep an ear out for that stuff. It certainly would be good to have more ears on that, but I also think that there's a technological
is there any way that we can route an output from the recorder
to the Zoom, like a splitter and then some kind
like
of
remote
Bluetooth headphones, something?
That would be a thing that we could do, is like split to get a splitter and some sort of Bluetooth solution. I think that's possible and probably not very crazy.
I mean, even when I have bad ears. Like I'm old, I can't really hear, and so even when you say, "Hey, cover Brian," it's kind of the same thing where I can't hear anything. Even at Rusty Mule, a lot of times I don't know which lens it is that we use, where we end up being a little bit further away.
Yeah,
and it's like I cannot hear a single part of this explanation. So it's just kind of having to try to figure out. Whereas if I feel like if I could hear, then I could at least try to follow along and have a better idea of where to be shooting at any one time.
Okay. But no, I think that's helpful. I like I mentioned, I end up being pretty close to it, so I can generally follow stuff along. And so it hadn't occurred to me that was also just like as much of a shooting issue for you guys as well. So we can sort of look into that and see what's possible.
He ordered Bluetooth headphones once, didn't he?
At one point, he
just kind of vanished.
I don't know where they are.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Because he bought them with the explicit purpose of doing basically exactly this.
Well, it was because we had lost footage during a Modern Rogue thing, where we couldn't keep an eye out or an ear out for it because we were moving around or whatever, and so we left the recorder, and it was like, well, why wasn't anybody listening? It was because we couldn't fucking do that. So yeah, I remember he bought something. I don't know if it was a receiver or a transmitter or what, but yeah, at some point for like a week or two, it's like, hey, the thing came in, and none of us knew what the thing was because he ordered it, and then it promptly disappeared.
Yeah,
man,
I would like to be able to hear that.
Sure. yeah.
But yeah, for me, the format's always been, build up, pay off for this reaction, and the reaction's there so that way you can tell the aspiring magician that, hey, this trick is great. Like, it got this person to react like that. Like, that's the whole appeal of like all those magic specials where people are on the street going, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." It's like, I've never reacted to anything in my entire life like that. If this magic trick can make somebody react like that, it's gotta be good.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's a lot of that. And sometimes we don't get those reactions and sometimes we do. And then, the whole back half is a lot of the people performing. And I feel like the functional purpose of that is sometimes there is more instruction, but a lot of times it's also just us communicating to that aspiring magician that, hey, it's not only does it get a great reaction, but it's so easy that somebody could perform it with no practice, basically.
Yeah.
And to me, that's always felt a little bit redundant, especially if the initial explanation is good enough to really figure it out.
I think it would be worth looking at still shooting those, because I really do think a lot of that. We've had multiple episodes where good information comes out just from shooting those, even if it's like stopping in the middle of like the actual performance and saying, okay, well, actually you can do this and this and this.
The bracelet one, the entire force explanation was from
teaching Ash how to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think from an editing perspective of saying, oh, okay, well, we can be a little more cavalier about seeing if those are even necessary. But I think I do think that it kind of it does when possible give like, I think that there's something there though of like having just been taught something and seeing it again. Like, I know it's redundant because you could, I guess, just watch the same video again. But I almost feel like if I saw the explanation, like, okay, here's how it's done. I would want to see it done again. And I would either go back and watch the beginning of the video, where sometimes we try not to edit trickily to hide stuff. Because I know that was a thing a few years ago, people just being upset like, oh, you used camera angles to hide stuff or whatever. But I feel like we tend to edit pretty honestly with that sort of stuff. And so having a second performance where we can say like, oh yeah, see here, you can see them doing the force or keeping the pinky break. At least I've come to like appreciate the good things about that. Which I think is maybe where my head is at. Of just like, I like what it is, but I also think I've maybe in a groove with it.
Or maybe we shoot the trick, the explanation, and then a more deliberate retread of the trick, because it also, I feel like, depends on the guest a lot of times with how. I mean, I remember I was on Scam School one time and it was a pinky break, and I just felt like I couldn't do it. And then I started getting all flustered and couldn't like make it work. But maybe having just, Brian or whoever it was that was doing the trick, do the trick a second time very deliberately for the camera. It
would maybe be interesting to maybe just retool like an audience member doing it, like very deliberately treating it like steps of like, instead of saying, now you do the performance back to me, it's like, okay, we taught you, because part of the thing with the explanations is like, it starts off very high level or like very broad of like, okay, well, you do this move and then you drill down into the other different finer points of it. And I think a recap is like the best use of a third segment, if there is a third segment, of like, okay, so really what you do one more time is you shuffle, number one, you shuffle, number two, it's this thing. And if it's somebody else, then that's still the opens up the possibility of like, okay, well, you need to make sure you hold it like this or whatever.
But I don't know if you'd be losing something by essentially having Brian narrate the guest's performance instead of asking them to go back and do the whole trick again. Of basically just saying, maybe that's what you're saying is
a little bit.
Step one, and then you show the guest doing step one and then step two, but not having them actually have to do the performance, so they could just concentrate on the shuffle or the hand move or whatever that is. Because
I think when we shoot that's a thing that people could sometimes stumble over if they're not like, if they don't know a lot about magic, of just like we did we did the pencil thing last week, and Jaime did the paddle move performance thing, and we cut that down. I cut that down a little bit because the explanation showed Jaime one thing, which was to roll the pencil when you go up and down. And that's really all he could do, and so that's all he did, which is fine. But if you can be like, okay, here's what you can do to replicate what I did. I showed it one way, I did the roll, and I showed it the other way, and then I can do this, and I can put my hand over it and roll it when I reveal, so it's the thing. Like, I think that there get to be stumbling blocks with people who just aren't magic knowledgeable, to say, hey, now replicate the thing that you saw, because it's almost like the curse of knowledge, right? Like, well, this person doesn't know about magic, and so you can't treat them like you can just show it to them and even teach them how to do it, but are also able to replicate all this other dressing around it.
Yep.
That's an interesting point. We'll keep an eye out for that, because like the intro stuff is something I've wanted us to experiment with a lot. Yeah. Also, of just like getting right into it, because I think they're fine, but I don't. If I already clicked on something, I don't need to be sold on it.
Right.
You just need to start doing it, and that'll hook me more than like trying to double hook me on a title.
Yeah, and I think for me it's just like I've been watching Scam School for so long, dude. Like since early high school, I guess.
Yeah. And
so it's just like I understand that like all the pieces have purposes, but it's just a certain element of it has stagnated for me a little bit. But then again, I also don't watch every week, so it's not like my opinion is super valuable in the respective people who watch it every single episode.
Yeah, there's your tastes have shifted.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. Like weird things sometimes. Like I've been listening to weird things for a long time, and if I wasn't producing that show, I don't know that I would listen to it every week, just because. I got it. Bigfoot. Elon Musk. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have gone longer than we've gone in a while on a show that we thought would go about half as long as it did. So I think maybe we'll skip the potpourri this week of what everyone's been doing. That's what I call that last segment of the show, where I just ask everyone what they've been up to.
Can I make one really brief observation?
Okay.
Is when I get closer to the camera in this angle, I've been playing a lot of God of War recently, and so if I can make myself like way bigger than Brandt,
boy,
I feel like Kratos and Son over here.
Well, let's just get into plugs. Jeff,
Rage Select,
youtube.com/RageSelect.
Yeah, just whatever.
There you go.
Type those 2 words in, you'll find it.
Brandt.
Gatowag, GATOWAG on Twitter, on Twitch. Did some live streams of Modern Rogue edits this past month.
Nice.
Instagram, you can get some music recs there and see some of my photography.
Yeah.
Also Modern Rogue Show on Twitter and Modern Rogue Show on Instagram.
And I think
in
what's
the Discord.
The Facebook? We have a Modern Rogue Facebook.
Facebook is facebook.com/Modern Rogues.
Is it Modern Rogues or the Modern Rogues?
It is Modern Rogues.
Okay. We gotta oofa doofa.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, check all that stuff out.
At least it's not Modern Rouge anymore. So,
hey, you made that call. You made the
yeah, and I thought it was great. I stand behind that.
You can find me on Twitter at BryceBrycas. You can find me on Twitch, streaming here on the Night Attack channel, twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is where we stream this show at the end of the month. Usually the last Tuesday of the month. But you can also find out more about this show at bizarrebriefing.com or youtube.com/scamstuff. That's where you can find the video versions of this, along with all the time codes to all the topics that we talk about. And of course, find us on iTunes, Stitcher, whatever your podcatcher of choice is, thebizarrebriefing.com. So that's April. Thank you guys for a nice sleepy April.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to wake up in May.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I love that Green Day song.
Yeah. I don't know enough about Green Day to continue this joke.
I don't either.
Okay.
To be honest.
Solid. Jeff,
but
any
it
chance?
sounded like it made sense.
I know quite a bit about Green Day, but that I'm not interested in really advertising how much I know here.
Thank you guys. We'll see you next month. Bye.
Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.